While hiking near King's Cliff in Somerset late at night, this person captured something truly unsettling. In the distance, a pale humanoid figure can be seen standing between the trees. They claimed it might show a ghost. When I zoomed in nearly 500%, expecting to find signs of editing or manipulation, but instead, the pixelation matched perfectly with the rest of the image. Some argue it could be nothing more than shadows or a trick of the light, but the person insists that wasn't the case. So what exactly did they capture during that hike? A woman was cycling along a narrow mountain trail with her dog. As she carefully rode along the edge, this happened. Her bike suddenly lost traction and slid toward a steep drop. For a brief moment, it looked like she might fall straight down the slope, but somehow she managed to stop herself just in time. One small mistake in a place like that could have ended very differently. A Reddit user, the saddest potato, was hiking through a quiet patch of woods when they came across something that immediately felt out of place. Laid out on the forest floor was a strange setup. A blackboard covered in odd symbols, papers with handwritten notes, and even a small dagger placed right through the center. It looked like some kind of ritual had taken place there not long before. Curiosity got the better of them, and they started examining it up close, even picking parts of it up. But the more they looked, the more uneasy it felt. The symbols didn't make sense, and the notes looked almost coded. Some said it was harmless. Others claimed it could be something much darker. So, was it just an odd setup in the woods, or did they disturb something they really shouldn't have? A woman stepped outside her house one afternoon when something caught her eye, making her freeze in place. Up in a nearby tree, a strange figure was sitting quietly, watching her. Confused, she grabbed her phone to record what she was seeing. Some suggested it might be an otherworldly being, silently observing from above. Others said it could be mango thieves hiding in the foliage, but the glowing, unblinking eyes didn't seem quite human. Without any additional details, we can never know. A volunteer driver named Juan Herrera was called in to assist after 3 hikers went missing near a remote waterfall in California. The group had been exploring Rattlesnake Falls when 3 of them jumped into the water, but tragically never resurfaced. The area is known for powerful currents, deep pools, and dangerous underwater conditions. After days of searching, Herrera hiked for hours into the remote location and began diving into the freezing water. Nearly 50 feet deep, he made a grim discovery. One by one, he located all 3 men beneath the surface, bringing long-awaited answers to their families. A wildlife photographer was exploring a snow-covered roadside in Canada after a recent storm, when she noticed something unusual near a wooden pole. At first, it looked like a normal coyote standing in the distance, but as she got closer, she realized something was wrong. The animal was completely frozen in place, mid-stride, as if time had suddenly stopped. The coyote had died where it stood, its body preserved by the freezing temperatures. Some believe the extreme cold alone caused it to freeze so suddenly, but others aren't so sure. So what do you think really happened to the coyote? In April 2010, 23-year-old Aubrey set out on a solo trek through Langtang National Park in Nepal. She had been traveling across Asia for months, staying in close contact with her family almost every day. For Aubrey, this hike was supposed to be one more adventure before returning home. She began the trek on April 21st. At first, everything seemed normal. She was seen along the trail, signed in at checkpoints, and spent time at a tea house called Namaste, where she spoke with locals and other travelers. The next day, she continued hiking deeper into the valley. She was later reportedly seen farther up the trail near Lama Hotel. And then, she vanished. When Aubrey failed to return as planned and stopped contacting her family, panic set in. Her father and brother flew to Nepal and joined a massive search already underway. Local villagers, guides, police, the Nepali army, and US officials all became involved. Searchers combed steep mountainsides, riverbanks, nearby forests, caves, monasteries, and the main trail through the valley. For weeks, then months, they looked. But no definitive trace of Aubrey was ever found. Over the years, countless theories have surfaced. Some believe she may have fallen into the powerful Langtang River, which runs dangerously close to parts of the trail. Others feared something much darker may have happened. There were long-standing concerns about the safety of solo female trekkers in the region, and later reports raised questions about possible assault or foul play. At one point, several men were even detained after claims they were involved. But those claims fell apart and the men were released. No physical evidence ever proved what happened. To this day, Aubrey Sacco's disappearance remains one of the most haunting mysteries in Nepal's trekking history. How does someone walk one of the world's most traveled mountain trails and then disappear without leaving a single confirmed trace? A man was heading home late one night and decided to take a shortcut beneath an old wooded bridge, a place known to be haunted. As he stepped into the shadows, he felt like he wasn't alone. He raised his camera, slowly scanning the darkness for anything out of the ordinary. Suddenly, a shocking red face, framed by tangled black hair, peered up at him from the gloom. The figure froze for a moment, staring straight at him, and then vanished as mysteriously as it appeared. Some believe it could be a witch or spirit, while others suspect a more unknown entity. Even if it were a hoax, the footage is still terrifying. A man was exploring a wooded area in southeast Indiana back in 2019 when he came across something that made him stop dead in his tracks. Stretched across the forest floor were massive footprints, each about 6 inches wide, 18 inches long, and 4 inches deep. The space between them suggested a staggering stride of over 5 feet. He counted 8 prints in total, but for some reason only managed to photograph 2 of them. Nothing in the area matched their size, yet they were remarkably consistent with reported sightings of an 8-foot-tall Sasquatch. Coincidentally, the man had seen a similar creature nearby not long before. A man was kayaking on a quiet lake when he noticed a group of people gathered, all looking at something. There, coiled and resting, was a huge anaconda. The kayakers paddled cautiously, trying to keep a safe distance while taking in the incredible sight. Do you think this could be real? A man was walking alone through a forest at night when he noticed tiny flickering lights on the ground. At first, he thought they were just reflections from water or raindrops, but as he got closer, he realized that each flicker was actually the eyes of hundreds of spiders scattered across the forest floor.
It's actually not. It's hundreds of spiders watching you.
Some spiders were large, others tiny, all seemingly watching him, ready to crawl up his legs if he wasn't careful. It was definitely an eerie feeling, walking there alone at night. A family was enjoying a quiet trip in the woods when their young child suddenly stopped and pointed towards something in the distance. The parents turned and saw something they couldn't explain. They grabbed their phone to record and zoom in. Among the trees stood a pale humanoid figure, perfectly still and watching them. It looked like a mummy. They wondered if it was a wrapped mannequin placed there to scare people or an actual person dressed in a costume. They didn't dare to get closer and left without ever getting answers. A Reddit user known as Places_Forgotten was hiking alone when they came across an abandoned school in Fukushima, Japan. Curious, they decided to explore. The building had been left behind after the 2011 earthquake, tsunami, and nuclear disaster. Classrooms still filled with personal items, backpacks, frozen in time. As they moved through the halls, they took photos of the eerie interior. But in one of the final images, they noticed something terrifying. At the end of a hallway, a humanoid figure, just standing there. Some say it was likely a real person or maybe a trick of the light. But in a place like that, the idea of someone else being there unnoticed might be even more unsettling. Because if they weren't alone, why didn't that person make their presence known? hiker was exploring a dense forest when he felt an unsettling gaze from a distance. Curious and uneasy, he quickly raised his camera and snapped this photo. Peeking out from behind a tree, partially hidden by the underbrush, was a large creature with broad shoulders and a chilling grin. Many suggested it could be a Bigfoot. But what makes this encounter truly eerie is the expression itself. Why was it smiling, almost as if it were playing a game with the observer? A 25-year-old British traveller named Eli Sweeting from Bristol set out on a solo hike in New Zealand's Fiordland National Park. His goal was Mitre Peak, a steep and dangerous mountain overlooking Milford Sound. Eli was an experienced climber, familiar with challenging terrain. But on May 2025, after setting out on the hike, he never came back. When he failed to return that evening, authorities were alerted and a search operation quickly began. Police, rescue teams, and local volunteers all joined in, scanning the mountain using helicopters, drones, and infrared equipment. At one point, a light was spotted on the mountain, raising hopes that it could be him. But the terrain made things incredibly difficult. Mitre Peak is known for its sheer cliffs, dense vegetation, and unpredictable weather, conditions where even experienced hikers can get into trouble. Search efforts were repeatedly slowed, even paused, due to the dangerous weather conditions. Despite days of searching, there was still no confirmed sign of Eli. His family later travelled from the UK to help with the search, holding on to hope he might still be found. But as time passed, that hope became harder to hold on to. And to this day, what happened to Eli Sweeting on that mountain remains unknown. This video was posted on the TikTok account Beyond Your Nightmares. Allegedly, it was filmed by a hiker who had just arrived at the start of the trail when they got an eerie feeling of being watched. Staying close to the car, the hiker filmed in the direction where the rustling was coming from. She could see that something was there, but it wasn't clear enough. When reviewing the footage, a black figure appeared, with eyes. It could be a bear, but some cryptid enthusiasts claim it looks like a dogman. Whatever it was, it didn't matter. This was enough reason to drive back home. A Reddit user, Ecstatic Nihilist, was walking along the rocky shoreline near Fisherman's Wharf when they noticed something odd. Curious, they picked it up and brought it home, thinking it might be something interesting. The object looked unusual, covered with what appeared to be shells and hair-like material. At first, the finder had no idea what it was, and was almost sure it wasn't a natural formation. Some said it looked like part of a mermaid skull, while others said it was clearly some sort of handmade item. Some even suggested it might be tied to religious or cultural practices involving shells and symbolic decorations. If you have any clue, let me know. A 27-year-old hiker named Cole Henderson set out on a solo trek in Spain's Ordesa y Monte Perdido National Park, a rugged, high-altitude region in the Pyrenees known for its steep terrain and unpredictable conditions. On July 9th, he parked his car in the small mountain town of Torla. Then he sent a message saying he was beginning his hike and switching his phone to airplane mode. And after that, he was never heard from again. When Cole failed to catch his flight back on the Netherlands on July 12th, concern quickly grew. By July 14th, he was officially reported missing. A large-scale search began. Spanish rescue teams, helicopters, drones, and mountain specialists combed the area, focusing on routes leading toward Monte Perdido, one of the highest and most dangerous peaks in the region. At the time, the trails were still covered in snow, making conditions even more hazardous, even for experienced hikers. Days turned into weeks, with no sign of him. Then, in early August, search teams made a discovery. Cole's body was found on a remote, hard-to-reach section of the mountain, far from any marked trail. The terrain was so difficult, rescuers had to use a helicopter crane to recover him. It's believed he may have attempted a challenging route in dangerous conditions. A truly heartbreaking end, and a chilling reminder of just how unforgiving the mountains can be. A person was exploring a rugged landscape when they came across a massive rock formation. But from a distance, it formed what looked exactly like the side profile of a human face. The longer they stared, the harder it became to ignore. Some say it's just a natural illusion, a case of the human brain finding patterns where none exist. Others have speculated about something far more unusual, even giants. But whatever shaped it that way remains a mystery. On March 3rd, 2026, a TikTok user was on a night walk through Berlin when she suddenly started hearing strange, eerie sounds echoing through the area. The noise didn't sound familiar, almost mechanical, yet oddly unsettling. She recorded it, trying to figure out where it was coming from, but even after replaying it multiple times, she couldn't identify the source. When the video was shared online, people were divided. Some believed it was machinery or industrial noise. Others joked about something far more supernatural, but no clear explanation was ever confirmed. Typical Adeptness 2484 on Reddit was driving alone through the abandoned Badger Army ammunition plant when he took a wrong turn and ended up near some old, overgrown structures. While exploring the area, something strange caught his attention. Sticking out of the ground was what looked like a human head mounted on a pole. He assumed it had to be fake, but in a place like that, it didn't feel like a joke. As he looked around, he noticed a house deeper in the woods with smoke rising, suggesting someone might be inside. Then he heard a distant yell, though he couldn't make out what was being said. Not wanting to take any chances, he quickly left. Why would something like that be out there? A woman named Linda Dewey and her niece Natalie Graves were out hiking together near the Coxcomb Trailhead in Wayne County, Utah. The two loved exploring the hills and cliffs, often spending time there to enjoy nature and each other's company. But on that Wednesday, their hike ended in tragedy. Police later discovered that both women had been killed near the trailhead. Investigators say the suspect, identified as 33-year-old Ivan Miller, had no connection to either woman and was apparently targeting their vehicle. In court, Miller was charged with multiple counts of aggravated murder. Sometimes, it's scarier to encounter people on a hike than bears. A man was out filming at an unknown location when he claimed to have stumbled across something that made him stop in his tracks. On the ground lay a strange alien-like figure, completely still at first. Unsure of what he was seeing, he kept the camera rolling. After a few moments, it seemed to move slightly. But the video is way too mysterious to say if it's real. A man named Glenn Thorman, the fire chief of East Jordan, Michigan, was at his cabin one night when his motion-activated security camera went off. Checking the footage, he saw a bright, hazy figure hovering above his pickup truck. The shape seemed almost human, but surrounded by luminous wing-like forms that spread outward, moving gently through the air. Unsure what he had captured, Thorman shared the images with a local pastor, who believed the photographs showed an angelic presence watching over the property. Many people agreed, noting the resemblance to traditional depictions of Archangel Michael with radiant wings and a protective stance. Do you believe it? A man named Rodney was out exploring the wilderness alone, capturing footage of the outdoors for his own adventure. But later, while reviewing his recordings, he noticed a figure peeking and hiding in the bushes, just barely visible in the upper left corner of the frame. Though it was far away, the shape seemed deliberate, not just like any bear. What do you see? A journalist named Alec Loon set out on a solo hiking trip in southern Norway's rugged wilderness. He planned a 4-day trek through Fogfona National Park, an area known for its glaciers, steep terrain, and unpredictable conditions. But when he failed to show up for his flight home and stopped responding to messages, his family knew something was wrong. Soon, a large search effort was launched, involving the Norwegian Red Cross and rescue teams scanning the vast, remote landscape. For days, there was no sign of him. Then finally, a helicopter crew spotted him alive. He was found near the glacier, conscious but exhausted, with an injured leg after days alone in the wilderness. He was airlifted to safety, and incredibly, aside from the injury, he was reported to be in relatively good health. For his family, it was a moment of overwhelming relief. A man was hiking along a wooded trail when he came across a deer behaving in a way he had never seen before. Instead of running away or standing still, the animal was slowly turning in circles over and over again. At first, it looked unnatural, but the deer was likely suffering from a condition known as chronic wasting disease. This illness affects animals like deer and elk, slowly damaging their brains over time. As it progresses, it causes confusion, extreme weight loss, and strange repetitive movements, like the ones seen in the video. By the time these symptoms appear, the animal is already in the final stages, and seeing it happen in real life is truly heartbreaking. A family was living on a quiet property when they began noticing a group of strange birds lingering nearby. The birds stayed in the same area for days, barely moving, which made the family uneasy enough to start recording them. After some time, they realized the birds weren't alive at all. What didn't make sense was what happened next. Weeks passed, and the bodies showed no signs of decay. Curious, the family eventually got closer to examine them. That's when they claimed to find small components that looked like chips. This led to a bizarre theory online. Some believed the birds were secret drones for spying. Or was it all staged? For more scary solo hiking encounters, watch this next video.